स्टार्ट कर दीजिए। ठीक सर, कॉल काट दो ना। So, hello guys, Akshat this side, pursuing second year in BA Honors English from Hindu College, Delhi University. One of the topmost colleges of Delhi University. It has an NIF ranking of 2, as you might know. 2 this year and 2 last year. So, to get into Hindu College, you have to have a very high percentile, a very high CUT score. I personally scored 788 out of 800 in my CUT examination. I scored 100 percentile in economics, English, sociology, and 99.2 percentile in geography. And I'll be teaching you guys geography until the 15th of May from ExamFactor. ExamFactor is a platform that offers courses in the majority of your main domain subjects. चाहे वो साइंस में हो गया, कॉमर्स में हो गया, आर्ट्स में हो गया. In science you have all the basics, you have physics, chemistry, biology. In commerce you have accountancy, you have economics. So everything you need, pretty much be assured that you will find it on ExamFactor, unless you have a domain which is from say list B, for example, and entrepreneurship, PE, जो कि लोग usually नहीं लेते हैं CUET में. So जो subjects commonly offer करे जाते हैं, जो subjects बच्चे commonly लेते हैं CUET में, ExamFactor offers them all. And so आज हम डिस्कस करने वाले हैं ज्योग्राफी के कुछ PYQs, some likely questions, keeping in mind the pattern of the CUET UG examination of geography the last year as well as last year जब मैंने CUET दिया था 2022 में. So just a second. Yeah. Yes, all good. I was just checking the technicalities of it. It's sorted. Yeah. So for geography, let us deal with the first PYQ. Let's see. Yeah, so as I was saying, ExamFactor, it offers courses, mock test series in accountancy, BST, economics, mathematics, physics, chemistry, biology, history, geography, political science, psychology, English. And that's a huge range, guys. Trust me, that's a huge range. हमारे टाइम में नहीं थे ऐसे channels. And they, even if they were, they used to charge exorbitant prices. Exorbitant यानी कि extremely high, extremely expensive courses that offered very less value for money. So अगर आप चाहे कि एक सब्जेक्ट आपका डिटेल में कवर हो जाए, you can go to ExamFactor and you can check out the mock test series for these subjects. Because remember that for exams like CUET, it is not what you study, but it is what you prepare. It is all the practice that you do that will ultimately reflect in the CUET examination. Because CUET और बोर्ड के एग्जाम में बेसिक डिफरेंस इस चीज़ का रहता है कि बोर्ड में वो परखते हैं कि आपने कैसे पढ़ा है, आप कैसे लिखते हैं. But what CUET does is CUET will check your aptitude in that paper. कि आपकी कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी कितनी है, एंड कंसेप्चुअल क्लैरिटी तभी आ सकती है जब आप एक टाइप के कॉन्सेप्ट को बार बार एनकाउंटर करोगे, पेपर सॉल्व कर करके। And without any further delay, let's begin with the PYQs. So, question number one is gross national happiness (GNH) is used as the measure of which of the countries' progress. Gross national happiness कौन सा कंट्री यूज करता है अपने प्रोग्रेस को एनालाइज करने के लिए? So we know that usually countries use GDP, gross domestic product. Gross domestic product is the measure used to measure the country's progress, the country's economic progress. आप देख रहे होंगे recent times में कि we keep talking about how India is about to become a 4 trillion economy, and वो देखते हैं GDP के basis पे। जितने सर्विसेज हैं, जितना प्रोडक्शन होता है कंट्री में, उसका सम टोटल जो है इट इज रिफ्लेक्टेड इन द जीडीपी। जीडीपी से पता चलता है कि ट्रेड, कॉमर्स, बिजनेस, इकोनॉमिक प्रोग्रेस उस कंट्री में कितना हो रहा है। बट वी सी अ पेक्यूलियर केस ऑफ GNH। यहाँ पे हम क्या देख रहे हैं कि इंस्टेड ऑफ बिजनेस, इंस्टेड ऑफ मनी बीइंग द इंडिकेटर, we see that happiness is being the indicator to measure country's progress. This is a very novel concept. ये बहुत ही unique concept आप कह सकते हैं। So question number one is GNH कौन से country के progress को measure करने के लिए यूज किया जाता है? Option A is Nepal, option B is Bhutan, option C is China, option D is Cambodia. So the correct answer is Bhutan. What you see in Bhutan is that instead of allowing economic progress to always be prioritized over environmental sustenance. For example, what you see in developing countries, in developed countries even, what we often see is that rather than the environment being prioritized, rather than the ecosystems, nature being prioritized, what we see is that we always keep seeing an overemphasis on technology, an overemphasis on development, an overemphasis on using the environment for the benefit of human beings. But what we see in Bhutan is that Bhutan has emphasized holistic well-being over mere economic growth. Holistic well-being in the sense that they prioritize the well-being, the welfare of the people of the country as well as nature also. And it is used by Bhutan as a measure of its progress. This approach integrates economic, social, environmental and cultural dimensions of well-being to guide national development policies. What this means is that other countries, even India, जहाँ पे इकोनॉमी, जहाँ पे मनी इज यूज्ड एज द फैक्टर टू एनालाइज कि कंट्री की वेलबींग कितनी है, उसी जगह भूटान इज कीपिंग इन माइंड द इकोनॉमिक फैक्टर ऑल्सो, द सोशल फैक्टर ऑल्सो, द एनवायरमेंटल फैक्टर ऑल्सो एंड द कल्चरल फैक्टर ऑल्सो. It analyzes all aspects of what comprises of a person's welfare, and it has given a system of gross national happiness to basically analyze the development in their particular country. Bhutan is known as a world famous example of this. So मैंने इतना कह दिया आपको. I hope you'll remember this question because ये जो question है ये CUET 23 में आ चुका है, and chances 100% है कि ये फिर से repeat हो जाए. Very easy question. It's fact based. Just know gross national happiness used in Bhutan. You are good to go. Identify the correct points about urban settlements in the world. London is the first million city of the world. Paris was the second city to reach the million mark in 1850. By 1982, the number of million cities rose to 375. By 2017, 54% of people of the world were living in urban areas. About urban settlements, 4 statements are being given. You have to select कि 4 statements में से correct 3 statement कौन सा है. इन 4 statements में से एक statement गलत है, 3 statement correct है. You have to pick out of these 4 which 3 are the correct statements being given. Let's look at the answer. The correct answer is option number D. इसका रीजन क्या है हम देखते हैं. London pioneered the urban milestone by reaching the million mark in 1800, setting a precedent for urban expansion. As you might know from all your studying of social sciences, London is one of the first countries that began the process of colonization of the world. London के लोग, UK के लोग, the British people, they traveled the whole globe. They reached a plethora of places. They reached Africa, they reached India, they reached the Caribbean islands, and because of reaching these places, basically London was able to grow far more economically as compared to other places of the world. And consequently, what we see is that with more economic development, we also see a connection, we also see a correlation, we also see a rise in the number of people. आप जितने फैक्ट्री सेटअप करोगे, फैक्ट्रीज के लिए वर्कर्स चाहिए होंगे, एंड वर्क तो वही करेंगे ना जो लोकल्स है उस एरिया के, या फिर कोई बाहर से सपोज जा रहा है, सपोज कोई इंडिया से जा रहा है लंदन, because he thinks that London will offer him more opportunity. London will offer him the opportunity to basically have a better livelihood. And so because of this, जहाँ लोगों को opportunity दिखती है, जहाँ लोगों को economic opportunity दिखती है, they start to migrate to that place. And because of this, London pioneered the urban milestone by reaching the million mark. London की population जो है, it reached 1 million in 1800. It was the first city जिसकी population 1 million mark को छू गई, and काफी early in 1800. We're not talking about the 1900s. We're not talking about the 21st century. We're talking about the 19th century, and that is very early. Paris achieved this demographic landmark by 1850, closely followed by New York in 1860. Paris, New York, we know that these are developed cities, and developed cities इसलिए हैं क्योंकि these cities were hubs of commerce from very early on. क्योंकि इन्होंने अपना प्रोग्रेस जो है, इन्होंने क्योंकि अपना इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट का जो रूट है, क्योंकि इन्होंने अर्ली स्टार्ट करा था, इसलिए in today's world we know these cities as hubs. We know these cities as the developed cities of the world where everything is available. Paris, London, New York. By 2017, 54% of the people were living in the urban areas. Yes, this is a statistic, this is a statement, ये book में दिया हुआ है. Not everything in the CUET exam is conceptual. Certain times you have to remember facts also. You have to remember numbers. You have to remember dates. कि इस डेट पे ये चीज हुई थी. Statistics जो है आपको अच्छे से रट के जाना है. By 2017, 54% of people of the world were living in urban areas. This is a fact. And how do we know it's a fact? We know that it's a fact by revising the book, by reading the book clearly. If you have read the book properly, you will know that this is a fact. And since it is a fact, obviously it is correct. By 1982, the number of million cities rose to 375 is an incorrect statement. 1982 में 1 million cities 375 नहीं थे. उतने बड़े बड़े cities उस टाइम नहीं थे. I don't know the exact number of million cities right now, but 1982 was still a phase where the world as a whole, not just India or not just your neighborhood in Asia, but overall, the world had not achieved that level of economic development, had not achieved the level of social development कि 375 ऐसे शहर हो जिसमें 1 मिलियन की पॉपुलेशन रहे. And so we know that option C, that the statement number 3 is incorrect, and because of this we know that D is the correct answer. Industries that are largely dependent upon component parts that can be obtained from anywhere are called A. Footloose industries, B. Agro industries, C. Small scale industries, and D. Mechanized industries. Footloose, agro, small scale, mechanized. कौन सा होगा इसमें? The correct answer is footloose industries. Let us look at the industries first. Agro industry. Agro industry is that industry जिसके जो raw material है, it comes from the soil. It is a natural product, right? For example, rubber can be an agro industry. Paper जो बनता है, it's an agro industry because the raw material, it comes from a plant. It comes from plants, which is why paper industry would be an agro industry. And agro industry आप वहाँ set नहीं कर सकते जहाँ पास में crops नहीं है. For example, if there is a plantation of suppose rubber trees, so जहाँ rubber tree की plantation होगी उसी के आसपास ही तो एग्रो इंडस्ट्री सेटअप करेंगे. इट वोंट बी लाइक कि प्लांटेशन यहाँ पे है एंड एग्रो इंडस्ट्री जो है बहुत दूर सेटअप करा गया है. इट वोंट बी लाइक दैट. एग्रो इंडस्ट्रीज आर डिपेंडेंट ऑन द क्रॉप्स एंड विच इज वाई जहाँ क्रॉप्स होंगे, जहाँ प्लांटेशंस होंगे, उसी एरियाज में एग्रो इंडस्ट्रीज सेटअप करे जाएंगे. इट इज डिपेंडेंट ऑन द रॉ मटीरियल एंड द रॉ मटीरियल कम्स इन प्लांटेशंस, इन क्रॉप्स विच कैन नॉट बी ग्रोन एवरीवेयर. आप रबर को कहीं भी जाके आप प्लांट नहीं कर सकते. उसके लिए सर्टेन कंडीशंस चाहिए होते हैं, उसके लिए सर्टेन वेदर कंडीशंस यू नीड, उसके लिए सर्टेन सॉइल कंडीशंस यू नीड, एंड तभी जाके जब सारे नेचुरल फैक्टर्स कम्प्लीमेंट्री हो तभी जाके आप सेटअप कर सकते हो प्लांटेशन. एंड प्लांटेशन जब होगी तभी उसके बेसिस पे इंडस्ट्री सेटअप होगी. सो एग्रो इंडस्ट्रीज कैन नॉट बी द आंसर. थिंक ऑफ इट लॉजिकली. स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्रीज and mechanized industries. Again, these industries are such that they are dependent upon other factors such as the availability of machines, such as transport routes. किस रूट से जो मटेरियल है जो प्रोड्यूस हो रहा है फैक्ट्री में, किस रूट से वो जाएगी रिटेल के लिए. So these are dependent on number of factors, and which is why you cannot set up these industries anywhere, right? अगर कोई आपसे कहता है कि आप कोई स्टील प्लांट खोल दो शहर के बीच, क्या आप कर पाओगे? नहीं कर पाओगे. बिकॉज एक स्टील प्लांट खोलने के लिए यू नीड अ स्पेसिफाइड नंबर ऑफ एरिया, यू नीड रूट्स ऑफ ट्रांसपोर्टेशन, यू नीड मशीन्स, यू नीड अ होल लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स. Which is why small scale industries, agro industries and mechanized industries, you cannot be set up anywhere. But क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रहा है? क्वेश्चन आपसे मांग रहा है कि आप किसी इंडस्ट्री का नाम लो जो कि उन कंपोनेंट पार्ट्स पे डिपेंड हो, which can be obtained from anywhere, which can be set up anywhere, and which is why we come to the concept of a footloose industry. Footloose industries are characterized by their lack of a strong attachment to any specific location, primarily because they depend on component parts that can be sourced from various places. Footloose industries वो industries होते हैं which do not need a lot of external factors for the setting up. उस टाइप के इंडस्ट्रीज होते हैं जिसको सेटअप करना काफ़ी ईजी होता है एंड इट डज नॉट रिक्वायर अ स्पेसिफिक टाइप ऑफ लोकेशन, प्राइमरली बिकॉज दे डिपेंड ऑन कंपोनेंट पार्ट्स दैट कैन बी सोर्स्ड फ्रॉम वेरियस प्लेसेस. उसके जो कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं आप वो उसको कहीं से भी ला सकते हो, विच इज़ वाई setting up footloose industries is easy. This flexibility allows them to set up operations where conditions are most favorable, such as areas with beneficial tax regimes, good transport networks, or access to skilled labor, without being constrained by the need to be close to raw materials or energy sources. Right? So this is what it's saying. You don't need energy sources, you don't need raw materials to set up these footloose industries, because footloose industries के raw materials जो है आप उसे कहीं से भी ला सकते हो. So the correct answer to question number 3 would be Footloose Industries. Again, very easy question, very basic question. These are fact based. If you have properly read the book, you will know the answer to these questions. But still, I'm trying to give you a logical solution to all these questions by showing you how the other options are wrong. I'm also telling you how option A is right, but I'm also telling you how option B, C and D is wrong. Because sometimes ना क्या होता है when you give questions, when you give sit for papers जिसमें MCQs होते हैं, sometimes आपको आंसर मालूम नहीं होता, but sometimes you see some other answers and then you are like ये तो आंसर हो ही नहीं सकता उसका. तो अगर 4 ऑप्शन दिए गए हैं, अगर उसमें से अगर तो उस अगर 4 ऑप्शन दिए हुए हैं और उसमें से अगर 3 ऑप्शन रॉन्ग है, तो ऑब्वियसली लॉजिकली इट फॉलोज दैट जो बचा हुआ जो रिमेनिंग जो एक ऑप्शन है, दैट इज द आंसर फॉर द क्वेश्चन. Which is why it's important to know the logic behind each of these questions so that you can tackle MCQs in the examination carefully. The activity solely dependent upon animals is called hunting and gathering, pastoralism, shifting agriculture, commercial agriculture. क्या होगा इसका आंसर? The correct answer would be pastoralism. Let's see why. Pastoralism is an agricultural activity that is solely dependent upon animals. It involves the raising and grazing of livestock such as cattle, sheep, goats, and camels on natural pastures. This practice is commonly found in semi-arid and arid regions where crop production is difficult due to poor soil quality and lack of water. क्या क्या कह रहा है ये? Like agriculture, pastoralism also depends on the natural sphere. But the basic difference is that pastoralism is carried out in those areas where crop production is difficult because of poor soil quality and lack of water. What this is saying is that if the farmer is unable to grow his crops, obviously he'll have to find another means of living, of another means of sustenance, right? And because he has to find a different means for sustenance, he has to turn towards animals by rearing cattle, by rearing sheep, by rearing goats, and by rearing camels and other animals. For example, sheep. If you are rearing sheep, if the farmer, if suppose a peasant is rearing a sheep, so from that sheep he can gain so many things. If he wants to, he can consume the sheep, right? If he wants to, he can shear the sheep of its wool and he can sell the wool profitably. If he has cattle, he can use the cattle for milk production. He can use the milk production for himself, and also if he has surplus milk, he can sell it. So what happens is basically that he is able to survive on his own also, but he is also able to earn profit. He is able to earn for himself. Which is why in areas where crop production is not that successful, people turn to pastoralism. Now let's look at the other options and see why pastoralism is the answer. Shifting agriculture. Shifting agriculture does not depend on animals. It's a very basic explanation. Shifting agriculture depends on the availability of plants, not animals. Similarly, commercial agriculture also depends on plants. It depends on crops. उसमें animals का लेना देना है नहीं. But in this question, what you might find confusing is that there are two similar options. One option is hunting and gathering. One option is pastoralism. In hunting and gathering also, when you hunt animals. You are hunting animals. So for a second in the examination hall, you can be confused that the activity dependent on animals can be hunting and gathering. Someone can make a very silly mistake here. But you have to note the word. You have to note the word that it says solely. Solely matlab the activity which is dependent upon animals only. हंटिंग एंड गैदरिंग में क्या होता है, यहां पे नहीं दिया हुआ गया है कि सिर्फ हंटिंग. इट सेज हंटिंग एंड गैदरिंग. व्हाट इज गैदरिंग? गैदरिंग मींस the gathering, the collection of produce from the forest, the gathering of bark, suppose the gathering of rubber, the gathering of what the forest gives you. And bark ho gaya, rubber ho gaya, all these things, these are not animals. These are forest produce. These are non-living. Right? So if the question is asking you कि आप किसी एक एक्टिविटी का नाम लीजिए जो कि डिपेंडेंट है सिर्फ एनिमल्स के ऊपर, तो आप कैसे कह सकते हो कि हंटिंग एंड गैदरिंग आंसर है? क्योंकि हंटिंग एंड गैदरिंग का एक कंपोनेंट है गैदरिंग, एंड गैदरिंग हैज नथिंग टू डू विद एनिमल्स, व्हिच इज व्हाई ऑप्शन ए कैन नॉट बी द करेक्ट आंसर, व्हिच इज व्हाई लॉजिकली फॉलोइंग द करेक्ट आंसर हैज टू बी pastoralism, which is the activity of rearing animals and moving with them. In India, we have the community called Van Gujjar, which practices this. बहुत अच्छे से दिया गया हुआ है book में. Read, and these are very basic questions. Last question. Identify the correct statement about the Hooghly industrial region. Number 1, located along the Hooghly River. Number 2, Kolkata Howrah forms the nucleus, the center of this region. Establishment of the first jute mill in 1835. Number 4, partition of the country in 1947 affected it adversely. It is like the pattern of a question that we earlier encountered. यहाँ पे 4 स्टेटमेंट दिए गए हैं, उसमें से 3 स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है, एक स्टेटमेंट रॉन्ग है. आपको बताना है कि इस क्वेश्चन के आंसर के लिए कौन से 3 स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है. Let's look at the answer. The correct answer is option C. Let's read why. The Hooghly industrial region is a key industrial area in West Bengal, India, situated along the Hooghly River. It is anchored by Kolkata and Howrah, which forms its industrial and commercial nucleus. The region's development was significantly influenced by the establishment of the first jute mill in 1855, not 1835 as incorrectly stated. The partition of India in 1947 negatively impacted the region by severing connections to the jute growing areas, thus affecting the jute industry. In summary, the Hooghly industrial region's jute industry and historical developments, including the impact of the partition. What do we understand from this? Let's see. Hooghly industrial region is a key industrial area in West Bengal, India. What do we know about industries? We know that industries are set up alongside rivers, alongside areas where there is a very abundant supply of water. जितने भी major industrial areas है इंडिया में, they all have come up at the banks of a river. So the presence of a river is essential. Hooghly is a major river in West Bengal, and therefore we also see a complementary industrial area in the Hooghly industrial region in West Bengal. It is anchored by Kolkata and Howrah. West Bengal में सबसे commercially सबसे important जगह कौन सी है? We know it is Kolkata, the capital of West Bengal right now. And back then, in the colonial period, it was a presidency. It was one of the first bastions of the British. It is one of the first cities which was properly developed. It is one of the first cities that received education in India. And obviously, इस region में सबसे developed city जो है कोलकाता है. And इसलिए industrial nucleus, जो commercial nucleus जो है, nucleus means what? Nucleus means the center of something. So industrial area का center, logically speaking, would be Kolkata. Right. Next, we see statement number 4. Partition of the country in 1947 affected it adversely. Why? हुगली इंडस्ट्रियल रीजन जो है, it was known for jute. जो jute bag नहीं होते हैं, it was known for jute. But what happened after partition is that the jute growing area was there in East Bengal. What is East Bengal in today's world? East Bengal, after partition, it became East Pakistan and later Bangladesh. So Bangladesh में जो खेत थे जूट के, the jute growing area is in Bangladesh, but the industry is in West Bengal. Do you see what I mean? The industry is in West Bengal, the jute growing area is in Bangladesh, which is why after independence the industry was hit badly, because of the border, because of the Indo-Bangladesh border, we could not get the jute which we earlier used to get before partition. And agar raw material ही नहीं मिल रहा, then how will the industry survive? Which is why we see a decline of the jute industry area following independence, following the partition. Why is statement number 3 incorrect? See, this is a very clever question, because if you see all the answers, you will find that all of them look correct. But if you look at numbers 3 carefully, establishment of the first jute mill in 1835, if you are well prepared, if you do enough PYQs, and if you study hard enough, you will know that the first jute mill, it came up in 1855, not 1835. Everything in this answer seems correct, but the difference is in the date. The difference is in the year. जूट मिल एस्टैब्लिश हुआ था 1855 में, आंसर में दिया हुआ है 1835. If you don't know in which year the first jute mill was established, you will not be able to answer this question correctly. Which is why, as I said, conceptual clarity, concept building is very important, but so is the remembrance of dates. You have to know dates, you have to know figures, you have to know years, you have to know numbers, you have to know certain facts. You have to remember certain facts, because without certain facts you cannot pass, you cannot do well in an exam like CUET geography so easily. You have to have that level of factual knowledge about the book, about the course. Now let's look at the next question. Yeah, this is the last question. Yeah. So match column 1 with column 2. This is basically match the following. National Waterways 1, Kakinada to Puducherry. यहाँ पे नेशनल वाटरवेज के नाम दिए गए हैं एंड यहाँ पे उनके रूट्स के नाम दिए गए हैं. Just a second, guys. Yes. So national waterways, the way we have national highways, we also have national waterway, because water is also a route through which transportation takes place, right? So waterways are also a route through which transportation takes place, just the way that cars and other vehicles travel on road, and we have national highways. In the very same way, we have ferries and boats and steamers and etc. traveling on waterways. If you are in the impression that highways are the only means of transportation, no, India also has an active connection of waterways. एंड वाटरवेज जो है क्लियरली दिए गए हैं तुम्हारे बुक में कि वाटरवे का स्टार्टिंग पॉइंट क्या है एंड वाटरवे का एंडिंग पॉइंट क्या है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ वी टॉक अबाउट NH1, we will talk about NH1 in terms of the starting point and the ending point. The starting and the ending point define the highway in between. Similarly, in the case of a waterway, the starting port and the ending port define the waterway. So the correct option here is option number A. Option number A is correct because National Waterway 1, it starts from Allahabad to Haldia. It runs in the UP to Bengal region. National Waterway 2, Sadia to Dhubri. This is a waterway along the Brahmaputra. A waterway along the Brahmaputra in Assam. Sadia to Dhubri, ये Assam में है. Kotapuram to Kollam. This is in the south. Kakinada to Puducherry, National Waterway 4. This is also in the south. Next question. Identify the correct statement given about pack animals. Dogs and reindeer are used in North America. Mules are preferred in the desert region. Camels are used for caravan movement. Bullocks are used for pulling carts. Pack animals. Dogs and reindeers are used in North America. Mules are preferred in the desert region. Camels are used for caravan movement. Bullocks are used for pulling carts. Three statements here are correct. One is wrong. Let's see the answer. The correct statement about pack animals are: dogs and reindeers are indeed used in North America for transportation, particularly in the Arctic and subarctic regions where traditional vehicles cannot operate due to snow and ice. In places like the Arctic, where the roads are completely covered with snow, how can you use a car there? How can you use your vehicles there? You cannot. Wheels cannot operate there, and where wheels cannot operate, sledges are used which are pulled by dogs, husky dog, and reindeer. Dogs which are specially, it is not जो देसी कुत्ते नहीं होते जो इंडिया में वो यूज नहीं होते. The dogs which are being talked about here are those dogs like the husky dogs which are huge, which are specifically trained for carrying lots of weight, for carrying people over large distances. Camels are used for caravan movement, especially in desert areas like the Sahara, because of the ability to travel long distances without water. जो कारवा नहीं होते, जो कारवा होते डेजर्ट में, कौन खींचता है उन्हें? कैमल्स तो खींचते हैं. Bullocks are traditionally used for pulling carts in various parts of the world, including rural areas of India, for transportation and agriculture. Even in Delhi, even in a metropolitan city like Delhi, you see bullock carts being used. Bullocks are used to transport, say, food, say, vegetables, rice. So these bullocks are essential, and it is basic information, guys. It is basic information that bullocks are used for pulling carts in India. बहुत prevalent practice है ये. Mules are preferred in mountainous regions and not deserts. Mules are preferred in mountainous regions and not deserts. What does statement 2 say? Statement 2 says mules are preferred in desert regions, which is incorrect. Because desert में क्या use होता है? Desert में ऊंट use होते हैं. Desert में camels use होते हैं, not mules. Mules are used in mountains. And thereby we see that the correct option is option number D. 1, 3 and 4. Among the states of India, which one has the lowest female literacy rate according to the 2011 census? Again, a factual based question. Not conceptual, factual. You have to know the statistics, you have to know the literacy rates. You at least have to know कि कौन से state में highest है, कौन से state में lowest है. Right? Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh. Let's see the answer. According to 2011 census of India, Bihar had the lowest female literacy rate. Literacy rate, as defined by the census, refers to the percentage of people aged 7 and above who can read and write with understanding. Literacy rate according to census, when you say literacy rate, you define literacy rate in terms of the people above the age, the people above 7 and above. 7 is the criteria. When you take into account literacy rate, you do not take into account the children who are 6 years, who are 5 years. नहीं. 7 is the cutoff mark. 7 और 7 के ऊपर जितने लोग लिटरेट होते हैं किसी स्टेट में, उसको हम कहते हैं लिटरेसी रेट. What is female literacy rate? Female literacy rate is the number of females aged 7 and above who can read and write with understanding. And according to 2011 census, Bihar is the state with the lowest female literacy rate. What is the geography of leisure? Geography of leisure, just a second guys. Just a second. Geographies of leisure is a subfield of which field of human geography? Political geography, economic geography, social geography, settlement geography. Let's see the answer. Geography of leisure is a subfield of human geography that focuses on the spatial patterns and practices related to leisure activities, including tourism, sports, parks, and recreational activities. It examines how leisure activities are distributed across different spaces and places, how people access and use these spaces, and the socio-economic and cultural implications of leisure practices. This subfield aligns most closely with social geography, which studies the way social processes and structures are arranged and manifested in physical spaces. Social geography is concerned with the ways in which social norms, institutions, and identities are spatially constructed and how these social elements influence individuals' interactions with their environments. क्या कह रहा है ये? This is saying that geography of leisure is a subfield. It is a field within a field. Human geography is a field. Any field within human geography is called a subfield. Geography of leisure is a subfield of human geography that focuses on the spatial patterns of leisure activities. Leisure मतलब enjoyment, pleasure. Leisure के लिए क्या करते हो आप? Leisure के लिए you can go for tourism. You can go to a national park. You can see animals. You can play sports. You can go for recreational activities. You can go for archering, mountaineering, everything. It is such a booming field right now. Leisure activity. Leisure and geography of leisure, what does it do? Geography of leisure talks about how the leisure activities are distributed across different spaces. It talks about kitne space mein, kaun se area mein you can see more leisure activities. Just giving a basic example, obviously in a rural area, in a place where people are struggling to earn their bare minimum, obviously the concern will not be for leisure. इंसान लीजर में पार्टिसिपेट कब कर सकता है? जब उसकी बेसिक नीड्स फुलफिल होती है. जब उसकी बेसिक नीड्स फुलफिल हो जाए तब इंसान सोच सकता है कि अपनी बेसिक रिक्वायरमेंट के ऊपर सोचे. सो ही कैन लिव इन लग्जरी, ही कैन लिव इन लीजर, ही कैन फेस प्लेजर, राइट? But at the same time, if we talk about places like Shimla for example, in Shimla we see a number of recreational places. Why? Because Shimla में लोग आते हैं rich people who belong to privileged backgrounds and who have the resources, who are able to pay for such costly services, who are able to pay for recreational activities, who ऐसे लोग जिनके लिए bare minimum मैटर नहीं करता, उनके लिए फर्क पड़ता है कि bare minimum से कितना ऊपर वो enjoy कर सकते हैं, because they already have achieved the bare minimum of living, right? So geography of leisure talks about the distribution of these activities over space. And geography of leisure जो है, it's a subfield of social geography. Social geography is concerned with the way in which social norms, social institutions are spatially constructed. Social elements कैसे change करते हैं, कैसे vary करते हैं region to region, कैसे vary करते हैं with change in geography. Social geography deals with these. And obviously, therefore, geography of leisure will be a subfield of social geography. So the correct option is option number C. Asia has many places where people are few and few places where people are many. This remark signifies that the population of Asia is A. densely distributed, B. sparsely distributed, C. evenly distributed, D. unevenly distributed. क्या हो सकता है? एशिया में कुछ जगह है जहां लोग बहुत कम हैं एंड बहुत कम जगह है जहां लोग बहुत ज्यादा है. What is this trying to say? The correct option is option number D. Why? Why not even distribution? अरे even distribution कैसे हो सकता है जबकि साफ साफ कहा जा रहा है कि कुछ जगह ऐसी है जहां लोग बहुत ज्यादा है और कुछ जगह ऐसी है जहां लोग बहुत कम है. It cannot be even distribution because अगर even distribution होता फिर हम क्या देखते? हम देखते कि हर जगह ऑलमोस्ट सेम नंबर ऑफ लोग रह रहे हैं. इंडिया में ही देख लो, इंडिया में दिल्ली में इतने लोग हैं, यूपी दिस होल नॉर्दर्न बेल्ट हैज सो मेनी पीपल, it has so many people which are equivalent to populations of whole other countries. Meanwhile, you see places like Kargil में कितने लोग देखेंगे आप? You think of places like Arunachal, you think of places like Nagaland, एकदम the remote areas of Nagaland. So in these remote areas, you will not see many people. But in certain places within India, you will see so many people that it can fill a whole country. What does this mean? This means that population जो है हर जगह equal नहीं है. It is unevenly distributed. It is more in some places, it is less in some places, it is uneven. Therefore, the correct answer is uneven distribution. Which of the following is a push factor of people migration? Push factor. What does a push factor mean? Push factor means a reason because of which a person might want or might need to migrate from one place to another. Suppose I live in Delhi right now. If I have to go away to suppose London, तो अगर मुझे नीड फील होती है लंदन जाने के लिए, ऑब्वियसली कुछ तो होगा दिल्ली में जिस वजह से मुझे ऐसा फील हो रहा है कि मैं दिल्ली में नहीं रह सकता हूं. आई हैव टू गो समवेयर एल्स. Something is lacking, something is wrong in Delhi, which is why I feel the need to go somewhere else and seek something and seek that missing thing in that place. लंदन में कुछ ऐसा होगा जो दिल्ली में नहीं है, इसलिए मैं दिल्ली छोड़ के लंदन जा रहा हूं. This is the logic here. This is a push factor. Push factor, a factor which pushes people out of a certain place into a new place. Push factor क्या होगा? Better job opportunities, poverty, हाई वेजेस, बेटर एडुकेशन. अगर दिल्ली में एडुकेशन बेटर होती लंदन से तो मैं क्या दिल्ली छोड़ के लंदन भागता? नहीं. अगर दिल्ली में बेटर जॉब्स होते लंदन से तो क्या मैं दिल्ली से लंदन मूव हो जाता? नहीं. अगर दिल्ली में वेजेस हाई होते इन कंपैरिजन टू लंदन, वुड आई हैव मूव टू लंदन? नो. सो व्हाट डज दिस लीव अस विथ? पॉवर्टी. अगर एक जगह पॉवर्टी है, अगर एक जगह सही जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं है, अगर एक जगह लोग अपना बेयर मिनिमम, अपना बेसिक स्टैंडर्ड ऑफ लिविंग मेंटेन नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, तो ऑब्वियस सी बात है कि जो लोग हैं वहां के, दे विल ट्राई टू फाइंड अ प्लेस ऑफरिंग बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटी वेयर देयर इज गुड एजुकेशन, देयर आर गुड जॉब्स, देयर आर जॉब्स व्हिच पे वेल. Obviously, they would not want to be in a place where poverty is prevalent. So, which is why poverty is a push factor. It leads people away. It is a push factor of people migration. Done? Which of the following is transported through Big Inch pipeline? Big Inch. Milk, petroleum, water, LPG. बताइए. Through Big Inch Pipeline, we transport petroleum. It is a significant wartime project designed to transport crude oil from the oil fields in Texas to the northeastern United States, aiding in fuel supply during World War II. The pipeline system has been crucial in the efficient, large-scale transportation of petroleum, illustrating the strategic importance of pipeline infrastructure in energy distribution. पेट्रोलियम ऐसी चीज है जो कि हर जगह यूज होती है. The Vaseline that you put on your lips when your lips are chapped in winter, जब आपके होठ फट जाते हैं, आप जो वैसलिन लगाते हो वही वैसलिन पेट्रोलियम से ही आती है. Similarly, the petrol which you use for your cars, that also comes from petroleum. Petroleum is therefore a very crucial element because so many things that humans are using today, it is all petroleum based, which is why the Big Inch pipeline was transported in either USA to transport oil from the south, from the oil fields in Texas to the northeastern United States, aiding in fuel supply during World War II. This was a fuel supply project which was initiated in the Second World War. Done? Okay, assertion reasoning questions. Indian cities and towns are not static in their function, and their functions change due to their dynamic nature. Even specialized cities, as they grow into metropolises, become multifunctional, wherein industry, business, administration, etc. become important. Assertion reason questions में क्या देखते हैं आप? Assertion questions में assertion एक दिया होगा, उसमें you will be given a statement. You will be given two statements. Both the statements might be false, both might be true, and sometimes it can be that the second statement is the reason behind the first statement. But sometimes it can also happen that both statements are true, but there is no logical link. There is no logical link between statement 1 and statement 2. There is no causation. Statement 2 की वजह से statement 1 नहीं हो रहा. You have to understand the logic behind it. So we have three options here. Both A and R are true, and R is the correct explanation of A. R is the reason behind A. That's what it's saying. Both A and R are true, but R is not the correct explanation of A. Both R and A are true, right? But R जो है explanation नहीं है A के लिए. या फिर option number C, A is true, R is false. Option number D, A is false, R is true. Let's see. The correct answer is option A. Reason and assertion are both valid and logically related. There is a logical connection between the both statements. It is difficult to categorize Indian cities and towns. आप किसी एक शहर को देख के नहीं कह सकते कि ये एडुकेशनल शहर है, या फिर बिजनेस शहर है, या फिर ये एक रिलीजियस शहर है. बिकॉज इंडिया में हम क्या देख रहे हैं? बिकॉज ऑफ द ग्रोइंग पॉपुलेशन, बिकॉज ऑफ मोर डेवलपमेंट, द सिटीज विच यूज्ड टू परफॉर्म ओनली वन फंक्शन, नाउ दे आर परफॉर्मिंग मल्टीपल फंक्शंस. फॉर एग्जाम्पल, इफ यू लुक एट दिल्ली के आसपास इंडस्ट्रियल एरिया भी है. देयर इज नोएडा. दिल्ली के आसपास यू ऑल्सो हैव बिजनेस एरिया. यू हैव प्लेसेस लाइक गुड़गांव. Delhi is also an administration hub. Delhi is where the UPSC headquarters are there. Delhi is where the central government has its offices. Delhi में transportation भी है, Delhi में education भी है. तो क्या आप कह सकते हो कि Delhi is a business city? क्या आप कह सकते हो कि Delhi is an education city? क्या आप कह सकते हो कि Delhi is a transport city? You cannot, because Delhi इतने सारे functions play कर रहा है कि आप उसको एक लेबल नहीं दे सकते हो. You cannot group it under one label. You have to define it in multiple ways. You cannot say that Delhi is only an education city, because it is also doing business, it is also doing industry, it's also doing transport, it's also doing administration. So how can you say that Delhi is an educational city? Which is why Indian cities and towns are not static in nature. Static मतलब क्या होता है? Unchanging. यहां बोल रहे हैं नॉट स्टैटिक, मतलब इट कीप्स चेंजिंग इन इट्स फंक्शन एंड इट्स फंक्शंस चेंज ड्यू टू इट्स डायनामिक नेचर. रीजन क्या दिया भाई, इवन स्पेशलाइज सिटीज एज दे ग्रो इनटू मेट्रोपोलिसेस, जब जब कोई सिटी ग्रो होता है दे बिगिन टू डेवलप मल्टीपल फंक्शंस. एक मेट्रोपोलिस के अंदर बहुत सारे फंक्शंस प्ले होते हैं, बहुत सारे फंक्शंस प्ले होते हैं, व्हिच इज व्हाई स्पेशलाइज सिटीज, ऐसी सिटीज जो किसी एक चीज में स्पेशलाइज होते थे पहले, दे टर्न इनटू सिटीज व्हिच ऑफर अ मल्टीपल फंक्शंस. So obviously, Indian cities are dynamic. Why? Because specialized cities, as they grow into metropolises, become multifunction. Logical connection है दोनों के बीच. Reason R जो है explanation है assertion A के, तो obvious सी बात है कि option A is the correct answer. Hope you understood. Okay, so last question of the day. Yeah. So, which of the following statements are true about clustered rural settlements? Statement number 1, these settlements are commonly found in arid regions with an abundance of water resources. Statement number 2, farms and pastures are separated from the closely built up area of clustered rural settlements. Statement number 3, smaller settlements are more productive in using accessible assets than scattered settlements. For cultural reasons, people in the Bundelkhand region live in small villages. यहाँ पे दो स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट है, कोई दो स्टेटमेंट्स करेक्ट है. You have to basically tell which two statements are correct. Let's look at the answer. The first statement is false because clustered rural settlements are typically found in northeastern states and fertile alluvial plains, not in arid areas. The second statement is accurate because the tightly built up area of clustered rural settlements is distinct from the farms and pastures that surround it. The third assertion is likewise obvious as smaller settlements are known to be more productive in using accessible assets. The fourth statement cannot be considered true, so the correct statement is number D. Statement 2 and 3 are correct. Farms and pastures are separated. Obviously यार, जहाँ पे close built up होगा घरों का, जहां एक साथ बहुत सारे घर होंगे, तो ऑब्वियसली आप फार्मिंग कैसे करोगे, वहां पे आप पास्चरिंग कैसे करोगे. फार्म के लिए, पास्चर के लिए यू नीड ओपन स्पेस, you need fields. So if there are lots of houses built together closely, then how are you supposed to do farming and pasturing there? So obviously statement 2 is correct because farms and pastures are separated from the closely built up area of clustered rural settlements. Statement number 3 is also correct because smaller settlements are more productive than using accessible assets, because obviously अगर कोई